Hi there, Joshua Hanlon here, and today I'm in the archives of the First Division Museum in Cantigny Park in Illinois, and I'm joined by Jessica. She is going to be giving us kind of a behind-the-scenes look here at some of their collections, how they store things, and some of their approaches to exhibiting stuff here at the museum. So we are surrounded by some fascinating objects here, lots of stuff all around. What does this represent?
So currently we are pulling out our temporary exhibit. We are doing over 460 objects in our lobby alone. And really this is an anniversary exhibit for us. The park is turning 65 and the museum was a part of a request in Colonel Robert McCormick's will. And so to celebrate the anniversary of the park and having the museum, we are putting as much out as possible. It's really a visual spectacle. So everything from, we have about 50 pairs of boots, 40 helmets, we've got 65 patches, just a little bit of everything. Because as you know, most museums don't get to share a large portion of their collection. So we really wanted to just put it all out there and tell the personal stories. A lot of people expect medals to have stories, but you know, you have boots here that have stories, and somebody wore these boots and they're covered in mud, and you know, so let's talk about what that brings to the soldier's experience. So this is where we're going with our temporary exhibit. So it's actually pretty messy out here right now as we are gathering things and getting ready to exhibit them.
Yeah, that is really fascinating. And you mentioned the idea of kind of the stories behind these objects here. So as we look around, and I know there's a lot of helmets and things over here as well, do all of these objects have kind of a specific story with it, or are some of them just things that kind of were used in battle and maybe the exact details aren't known, or how does that typically work with a lot of the collections here?
Good question. You know, we have a story for everything. That is to say, we know whose it was, how they obtained it, and where. Some have more depth to them. Some of the stories are funny or sad and are things that we can share with the public to really connect. And other parts of it are, you know, boots that were never worn, that were simply, you know, acquired during their time in the service. So either way, they do all have a story, but it's the depth of the story and whether or not we can fully put that out and draw in some of that experience for both our guests and from the soldiers.
Yeah, fantastic. So take a look around the corner here, and now another thing people might notice here, and I know you said you kind of getting these ready to put on display, but you see these kind of just sitting in boxes out in the open, whereas a lot of the collection is here behind these closed doors. So what is the kind of reasoning for that? How does that help preserve the objects here?
Yeah, everything needs some level of preservation, and to the best of our ability, we have cabinets and racks and drawers and things that are specially lined. All of these boxes were handmade either by volunteers or staff members. So you get you really form them to the object in order to keep it safe. And then of course the cabinets are specially made, pretty typical for most museums in order to keep things safe. We have everything from textiles to obviously heavy metals. So we take care of them in many different ways. And then we have our vault, and that really is for all the expensive, I don't want to say expensive, the invaluable things, the things that we really can't ever replace or don't want to lose those stories.
Great. Well, we can check that out now then. So yeah, we'll go on into the vault. Anything called the vault always sounds exciting. You know there's something good in there.
Well, you got a couple layers that you got to get through for sure. Absolutely. So in here we have a lot of everything. Right behind us we have a uniform that will go on display, and you can see that it was from an individual who was injured. Sean was injured in a Humvee accident, and we have been able to have it restored and put onto the mannequin there. So we are going to eventually put that out for display, but we want to keep it away from anything else that, you know, could happen to us. We do put it in here in the vault. Medals of honor, weapons, of course, are safely kept in here, and then paintings that we have. Certain ones have, better story, huge stories, and just to really protect them. So yeah. We have a great one of General Pershing.
Yeah.
I can show that one to you. It's gonna squeeze back here.
You get the cool rolling shelves.
Yes, yes. These are always impressive when you're not used to being in the stacks, right?
Do these collections always stay pretty full, or is there kind of always room for more? How does that balance there of like kind of wanting to take stuff in but not overflow everything?
Great question. It's hard to say no, especially when you love everything,
Right.
But we do have to be very thoughtful about it, and so that's part of our mission is changing the way being very specific about our collections so that we are the first infantry division of the U.S. Army centric, but we want to tell the story that includes as many people as possible, whether it is women or minorities or units that were attached only for a certain amount of time. So we really try and be very thoughtful and then fill in gaps. So collecting periods, people are really good at World War II collecting, right? And we're just really getting into the Vietnam era now, and eventually you will probably see more collecting from individuals who were in modern conflicts, right? So as you can see, I gotta move all of these cabinets, and it's very tight in order to show you this great painting. And I have a co-curator who worked here for many, many years, or who works here for many, many years. And he told me the story about the painting. So if you guys want to come in,
Okay.
take a look.
Squeeze through here.
Yes.
There we go.
That is the parallel collections. So here we have a painting of General Pershing. This was commissioned for a series that Colonel McCormick wanted to do with the Chicago Tribune. So he was the editor-owner at one point, and at the time that this painting was commissioned, Pershing was very sick. We didn't know what was going to happen to him. So he was at, I want to say Walter Reed, and he was asked to sit for the painting, and so he did. And you see this very formal look of him, and what you don't realize is that he's wearing pajama pants. So he sat for the entire painting, with the top half of his uniform and then pajama pants in a hospital.
Wow.
And after that, he did end up getting better. And he has told a number of people, or he did tell a number of people, that this was his favorite painting. So
He was
really
super
fun.
comfortable.
Right. I mean, I would want to be wearing my slippers too, right? It's the work from home, the pandemic.
That's right.
Home portion on the bottom, right?
Pershing was a trendsetter there.
Yes, before we even knew it. So we have a lot of fun stories, like I said, that deeper content that we can share that's fun and interesting for some pieces more than others. But they all have really great stories that we want to share with everyone.
Yeah, and I think that's so fascinating. I think that's something that's so great about museums like this, is that you have that opportunity to not only preserve these pieces, but then tell those stories as well. And I'm sure, we talked about kind of deciding what you preserve, what you put on display, and I'm sure it's difficult to not have like everything just out for everyone to see all the time, and want the whole thing to be on display.
Yes, and that's where we create 5-year plans, and we want to keep objects safe and well preserved, so you don't put them out all the time. So you do put them away around here, and telling a bigger story or a different story. We want people to know that they can come back every couple times and see something new or special or different, and we want to relate to a variety of interests as well.
Yeah. Now, there's of course, the idea of security with like the vault here. Is there also things like temperature control or those types of elements that you try to achieve in these spaces?
Absolutely. So up on the side of a cabinet right there, you can kind of, if you look at the cabinet next to the door, you'll see there's like a little, it looks like an EpiPen almost.
Oh yeah.
A little thing up there. So that's like our humidity control, and we keep track of all of those things, humidity, temperature control is an issue in the Chicagoland area no matter what, right? So we're always balancing those things out. And then, for instance, we have these pieces behind you. Like I told you, almost everything that is in a box or has this blue archival board is handmade. So we have volunteers and staff who spend time making sure that everything is covered, whether it's with the board or cloth, muslin on flags, and so on. And our collections manager is incredible at trying to stick with standards and keep up with what's going to keep everything really safe.
We've made our way to the library now, and we're surrounded by a big variety of different books and objects here on the table. So we've got a couple specific ones I know you wanted to touch on in front of us. What are these here?
Sure. We have journals and diaries out. And again, this is going to be with our temporary exhibit. And we're looking at the writings from World War I through present day. And in fact, looking at this one, you can see that it was actually a German book that was acquired somehow by an American, and he used it to keep a journal in. So we're gonna gently open this to the back, and you can see that he has dates and what he did. So he was on inspection or going to the hospital, and he was doing this around December of this time. So this is Archie Pinnock. And then...
And what era did you say, or war was that from?
That is World War I.
Okay.
So is this one. And it's so fun looking at these. You can see it's script, right? It's old-fashioned handwriting. And, this is in English, but some people have a hard time reading it. And this is from Vernon Scobie. He was with an ambulance company, and he was collecting injured patients from the battlefield. And so he kept his journal as well. And you can see how beautiful that is, the writing there. And really gives us insight on his experience in World War I. So we have these really old ones, and everyone wants to look at them and hear, what was it like? What was war like? And then right next to these, we have a very modern set of notebooks here. And these are a nurse's writings from Operation Iraqi Freedom. And Jodelle Schroeder was a nurse at the time, and she spent her time keeping up with what was going on, having a reason to write. And everything over the last few weeks has been uneventful until the moment it wasn't. And so she has 4 journals here that she has really expressed herself. And you see, whether it's modern or 100 years ago, that there's a lot of this similar emotion, a lot of feeling, and that their sense of purpose was very much the same in service to the soldiers that they were with and the communities in the country.
Yeah, it's such a fascinating look into kind of the individual experiences, because it's also a good reminder with kind of all of these different examples here that war especially is a very individual experience, and it's not something that everyone is going to experience in the same way. And so by reading these individual writings, I think you pick up on a lot of those differences and kind of experiences that soldiers had.
Yeah, and it's not simple to digitize something like this. So when you're looking online, you can see digital versions of orders and citations, things that are very formal, very military, and this is that personal experience of what those orders or citations or other military histories mean to somebody.
How did the museum kind of get a lot of this in their collections? Are these donations or these things that kind of they've found over the years? What is that process kind of typically like for a lot of this?
We are incredibly lucky to have an amazing division, and in the past, really, really great, even up now, really great directors and curators who have collected these through donations. The 1st Infantry Division has a society, and they have reunions, and we have a really good working relationship with the division itself. So we do let people know that we collect through donations. Rarely do we purchase items unless they have some sort of relationship with, again, the division or the story that we are telling. So in particular, this stuff has been mostly donated to us throughout the years, and you can see some of them. These numbers here, 2005, so this came in around that time, and we have like 1980s and 1950s, so things come in at different times, whether it's a World War I journal or a relatively newer piece.
Yeah. And on the table, we see laid out kind of a lot of the historic objects, but then of course there's tons of shelves of just books as well here. So is this also very much used as kind of like a research space and letting people come in and research on all these different topics the museum covers?
Absolutely. So we have an entire library. We have a librarian here, and we loan books through interlibrary loan with universities and public libraries. So these are some of the resources that you can use here, or you can acquire them through interlibrary loans. But we do have people that come and request things from all over the world and are able to find information specific to the division or individuals or conflicts here.